Okay, so in the last video we had a general discussion of the game loop, and in this video we're going to look at a specific example of a game loop. Let me bring up another picture. These pictures are both from the book. Um, so we're going to code a game which is basically, pick a number between 1 and 100, and the system's going to pick a number and tell us if we guessed the number correctly or not. Okay, so it's a very simple game, but it still follows this. It's a good illustration of how you can follow the whole game loop even in something really simple. So the setup bit for our game is to pick a random number. So again, in the setup, you might do something like throw up splash screens, things like that. You also, if you need to connect to a server or access certain local files as part of the game, this would be a time to do it. In our case, we're just going to pick a random number for this simple game. That's all we need, is to have a number that we store and check to see if the players guessed it. So for setup bit is to pick the random number. Then the first thing in our game loop is to get input from the player. So we're going to get the player's guess, and then to update the game internals, we're just going to increment how many tries the player, how many times the player attempted to guess. Okay. So we'll start out with the number of tries being 0, and then when we increment the first time, it'll be 1 try. Okay, and then continuing on, however many tries it takes. Okay, then the next bit is to update the display. So we're going to, after we've incremented the number of tries, we're going to let the player know in the display, and this is just going to be a simple console display, but we'll just print out if the player's guess is too high or too low. And then we check, this is the game over check, we'll check to see if the player has guessed the number or not. If the player has not guessed the number, then we just loop back, we stay in our game loop, and if he guesses the number, we say congratulations and tell them how many tries. Okay? So let's take a look at the code. We start out here with our includes. We have IOStream for our cout and cin. We have C standard lib for our srand for seeding the random number generator, and rand for actually generating the random number we're gonna pick for our program. And we need ctime, so we can use this time 0 right here to just pull a number that we can use to seed our random number generator, so we don't end up we need a way of making sure we're not going to pull the same random number every time we start the game. So this business right here is our setup. Okay, so we seed the random number, we get a random number, we initialize our number of tries to 0, and then we declare a variable to hold the player's guess. And then we just up here our display, and again, part of setup might be an initial splash screen or whatever. This is we just have a console, so we're just writing to the console, welcome to guess my number. Okay, and now this bit down here is our game loop. Okay, oops. So it's a do while loop here. And what we're doing is we have our first bit about getting input from the player, so that involves a prompt and then pulling the actual value that the player gives us and storing it in this guess variable. Then to update our internals, all we need to do is increment the number of tries, how many times the player has tried to guess the number. The next bit is updating the display, and the display gets updated depending on the player's guess. So if the guess is too high, we tell the player it's too high. If it's too low, we tell the player it's too low. If it's exactly right, we say, yes, you got it. in, and we can tell them how many tries it took because we've incremented our tries up here. And then we do our test to see if we're at the end of the game loop. Okay. So, and actually here, if we fall out, so you can see that the actual code, the congratulations bit actually technically happens inside the loop, but it's going to be the last thing that happens in the loop because right after that, if the guess has been made, then at this point the guess is equal to the secret number, so we're going to immediately fall out. Okay, so the code's written with this display bit inside the while loop, but actually logically it matches this because it happens only at the end of the loop. So it fits the general framework, even though the code looks a little bit different. And then we stick in our system pause to make it end. Let's just run it real quick. Let's make sure it works. F5, yes. I would like to build it. Okay, enter a number between 1 and 100. I'm going to say 50. Too high. How about 25? Still too high. How about 12? Too low. Let's see. How about 18? Nope. How about 15 maybe? Oh, still too high. How about 14? I got it. Okay. Press any key to continue. Okay, so that's guess my number and how it works with the game loop.